other austerity types of challenge. And she was fine to accept that. And she became so attentive in his classes and in a mood of simplicity and purity and devotion that he eventually agreed. He initiated her into a Radha Krishna mantra, doesn't say which one, and instructed her, Sachi, to go live with Lakshmi Priya, because Lakshmi Priya was a little elder and she was younger. So you keep her company in Radhakund. That's where she is. And that's where Ganga Mata Goswamini kept her little Bhajan Kutir place, a little remote from the everything, but it's very simple and very pure. And that's how she lived. And as time passed, she became very, very qualified in speaking because she was very capable in devotion to hear. So eventually Haridas Pandit advised her, you please take up your residence not just in Vrindavan where you're hearing and chanting and enjoying the devotional atmosphere. Go to Puri. There are many, many pious persons in Puri, and I'd like you to speak this message as nicely as you're doing here, there, and many persons will become Vaishnavas. So she did, under his instruction. She was sent to Puri, and she ended up staying in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's house, because by that time it was dilapidated. It wasn't a celebrated place like it is today. It was run down. And all there was that house. And as you see on the wall, that's what's there today. That's the Sadbhuj form of that Lord Chaitanya showed to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and a Damodar Shila that he personally worshipped. And from there, she lived very humbly and very simply. And every morning, she would give a discourse on Srimad Bhagavatam. And her discourses on Srimad Bhagavatam became so attractive that many, many, many people were coming, hearing a lady. They came to know eventually, they didn't know right away, but they came to know she was from a royal family. She was a queen, the son of the previous king. But that wasn't what was attractive to them. What was attractive was her devotion. Eventually the word spread, and the local king heard about her. He came to hear her speak, and he was so moved by her speaking, he wanted to make a gift. She wanted her to have her own ashram near the side of Sweta Ganga. And she declined, and she declined, and he declined, and he insisted, and he insisted. So finally she yielded, thinking, if this is the will of Jagannath, then I can't say no to Jagannath. So she now has this formal arrangement that's in her name, or was in her name, of a piece of land by the side of Sweta Ganga. And she continued in her activities. And after some time, the celebrated Ganga Sagra area, there's a particular day, particular month, and a particular day in that month where it's very much auspicious to take sacred bath in the Ganga, in that area where the Ganga flows into the ocean. And she really wanted to go, but then she didn't go because she understood that her spiritual master, Haridas Pandit, had told her to go and preach there. And she hadn't told her to go anywhere else, so she couldn't go. On the evening before this auspicious Mahavaruni day, Jagannath appeared in a dream and told her, Sachi, just go to Sweta Ganga, take your bath at night in Sweta Ganga, and Ganga will meet you there personally, so you can honor the Mahavaruni event. So at this time, ladies weren't so much welcomed in Sweta Ganga. It was men would go. So she went at night when there was nobody around. And when she went at night when nobody was around and entered into as Jagannath told her to do, entered into the Sweta Ganga, the water of Sweta Ganga started to rise, and the flow of water went all the way from Ganga, which is quite a distance, to the Jagannath temple, and there she found herself inside the Jagannath temple with swarms of people, I don't know, hundreds or thousands or whatever, many, many people taking their sacred bath in Mahavaruni in the Ganga. And there was the sound of noise that was so loud, it woke up the guards. The guards were asleep. And they came and found her, and they arrested her. And when they came inside the temple room, there wasn't any water, there wasn't crowds of people. It was just Sachi standing there alone, looking happy. So they arrested her. They put her in jail, and she was to be put on trial. And there was the responsibility of the king to make the right judgment about what should be done, because they thought she was there to steal jewels from, how did she get in anyways, and those kind of things. So that night, before the hearing of Sachi wasn't in anxiety, he was just sitting there chanting and doing her devotional activity right in the jail cell. Jagannath appeared in the dream of the king, said many things, but you should immediately release Sachi. I personally caused the Ganga to flow from my own foot. It was this that brought her into the temple so that she could take bath on this auspicious day, and many other things. And he instructed her, if you know what's good for you and your followers, you all to go to her and fall at her feet, beg forgiveness, and take diksha from her. So it's pretty startling. And immediately, next morning, the king went to the jail cell and fell at her feet, clutched her feet, begged forgiveness, and told her what Jagannath had said. And she was just laughing. And said, I'm instructed by him to receive diksha from you. He's the king taking diksha from a lady. So she smiled and said, if this is Jagannath's order, then I must do. And on an auspicious day, he received Radha, the same mantra that she had been given from her guru, Haridas Pandit, she gave to the king. And then the king wanted to give her gifts, and she refused. Tried this and tried that, she refused. Finally, what was accepted was, every day you bring some Mahaprasad, and then I can distribute Mahaprasad to the people that come. So it was decided that daily 2 pots of Mahaprasad, 1 pot of vegetables, and some cloth of Jagannath every day, and 160 small conch shells, which she then just distributed to others. So that became a daily, and according to this document that I read, is still going on today at the place where Ganga Mata goes. So from that day, her name changed from Sachi to Ganga Mata, and then the honorific Goswamini. She never, no formality of a renunciation, but she was already renounced. Goswamini. Similar, there was a Pandit that heard about her fame, so he came to hear, and he heard, and he was very moved, and he requested her, similarly, for mantra diksha, a very learned person, but he was so moved by her devotion and erudition that he wanted to receive mantra from her, and so she gave him mantra. Another celebrated event is a Brahmana from a nearby place, not in Puri, but not far. His name was Chandra Sharma, and he was worshipping a deity, Rasika Rai. And Jagannath appeared in his dream, instructing him, the service of Rasika Rai, who is present in your house, is not being conducted properly. You have to bring him here to Sri Shaktra and deliver him to Sri Ganga Mata. So that's what he did. He brought the deity of Rasika Rai to Ganga Mata Goswamini, and she worshipped him for the rest of her life. When she left, she entrusted her deities. She lived till she was 121 years old. Her deities were left in the care of a disciple of hers named Damodar Das. And so there's the Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's residence, where that Sadbhuj Murti, etc. is, and then there's a whole altar. And then just down the street, not far, near the side of Sweta Ganga, is Ganga Mata's mat. And presently there's 5 sets of deities. I'm going to show you a picture of Radha Rasika Rai, Radha Shamasundar, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Vinod, and Sri Radha Raman. And the Shalagram Shila, or the Damodar Shila, are also present on her altar with the dancing figure of Lord Chaitanya. Here's her ashram, as you see on our left of the photograph. That's Ganga Mata Goswamini's murti or image. And the center in the back, there's the altar. Let's get a little bit closer to the altar. There's some of the details of the altar, but see that blue Krishna right in the center? Right in the center of that altar. There's Shilas, etc. at the bottom. But here's Rasika Rai. Very beautiful deity. So Ganga Mata Goswamini is certainly a celebrated person in Puri and a celebrated person in our Vaishnava line. And one of the 2 or 3 ladies that became recognized as Diksha Gurus, in part or largely because of their extremely elevated nature. So it's not a no-no, it's not common, but that's Ganga Mata Goswamini, and a little bit about her life. Because the 2 reasons. Yesterday was her appearance day, and it's nice to hear and remember and glorify these personalities. It just is very inspiring. I find it very inspiring. We know a little bit, and to know it a little bit more, and to hear it again and hear it again, especially. There are some devotees I know that they follow very carefully our Vaishnava calendar, and when there are appearance days, they dedicate some time each appearance day or disappearance day to reading or reciting or remembering these great personalities, because it's an important part of our spiritual elevation. It's purifying. And as we become purified, we feel some spiritual strength. And a little bit of the distraction part of our life subsides a bit, and the spiritual devotional aptitude becomes awakened a little bit. So it's very beneficial, hearing and remembering these personalities. So we've been going for an hour. Let's see if there's some discussion.
Yes, Pastor. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Some of the deities, like 5 deities, which Ganga Mata has in her ashram, the names are similar to deities in Vrindavan. Is there any connection?
Yes, her Bhakti.
Okay.
They're named after deities in Vrindavan. Their devotion. She spent time in Vrindavan, naturally some attraction for those deities in Vrindavan. And the history of the Vaishnavas that were also residing in Vrindavan. So It's just the connection is her devotion.
The names are same, or they're kind of Pratibhu deities, looks also similar?
Are the appearance, what the deities look
yes,
like,
Maharaj. Yes,
are
Maharaj.
similar? No.
Okay.
No, just the names are the same. I mean, look at the size of the altar.
Yeah.
And the largest of those deities, well, right at the center at least, is Rasika Rai. And the other deities are much smaller. The idea of the size of the deity in a transcendental sense makes no difference at all. The size of the deity may be there when there's a large assembly, and so you can see closely the features of the deity, but it's not, the size of the deity doesn't make the deity more or less.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj mentioned that just hearing and remembering these personalities in our disciplic succession is, gives us spiritual strength, and we can take inspiration.
Will give purity, and purity. When purity happens, then there's the strength revives. It's there already.
Their contribution to our sampradaya is so magnanimous, so
Yes.
much.
Mm.
As Guru Maharaj mentioned, we hear only on their appearance and disappearance days. We don't hear or read their books, because they are, at least for me, it's very high level. And so coming in that disciplic succession, what can we do other than just hearing on their appearance and disappearance day to honor them? And
not so difficult. For example, Baladeva Vidyabhusana's commentary in Bhagavad Gita is the translation is available. Prabhupada followed it closely. It's not verbatim, but he followed the line of presentation very closely. And you read the translation of his Sanskrit commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and it's not otherworldly. It's very sensible. So it's not. Don't think that you can't have that. And the bread and butter, or the primary, the chapatis and rice and dal or whatever, the fundamental is Prabhupada's writings. And then, as you become connected to Prabhupada and Prabhupada's writings, it's not like out of curiosity, I'd like to know what that stuff is over there. It just follows naturally. It's an embellishment. It's a natural embellishment to your study of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and those essential Bhakti Shastri texts. So, in course of time, you stay faithful and focused on the manner in which Prabhupada is given. Everything is there, and you'll find, as you start to become a little more familiar with Baladeva and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's writings, it's there in Prabhupada's writings. Much of it is already there. It's just not always more in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He'll point out, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Baladeva Vidyabhusana writes. He would point out where it's coming from, but otherwise he would leave their name out and just give the essence. So it's not unfamiliar to you. It's not so high that you can't access it. It's not like that. And there are biographies written, just like this article that I gave you to send out to others. It's just from Back to Godhead magazine. So, there are sources like that. Or ISKCON Desire Tree, they have many such things. So you get something about their lives. It just takes a little bit of time, doesn't take too much time to hear, reflect, offer respect unto. It's purifying.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So, question about how is that our acharyas before Baladeva Vidyabhusana, how is that they have not given any comment on Vedanta Sutra?
I explained, but I'll say it again.
Maybe I missed it.
They didn't because Lord Chaitanya said that the commentary is already there. The natural commentary of the author of Vedanta Sutra is there. So there was no need to comment upon an already existing commentary. However, the need arose because there was a challenge. And to meet the challenge, a commentary specific. Now, what's in Vedanta Sutra, what's in Govinda Bhashya, I'll say it slowly, what's in Govinda Bhashya is existing already in the writings of the Goswamis. The language may not be, verbatim, but the teachings, it's Lord Chaitanya's teachings and captured by, received directly from Lord Chaitanya to the Goswamis, and they were empowered to do that writing. So the teachings were already there. And he had learned those teachings, he just assembled it to match the verses of Vedanta Sutra. So if your question is, why wasn't it done before? Because there was no need. Then, okay, if there's no need, then why have those teachings and other writings of the Goswamis? Well, they're just teachings of Lord Chaitanya that they were writing. And the teachings of Lord Chaitanya are not different than the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam is Vyasa's commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So it's natural that gifted, empowered persons write. It's part of our line, part of any disciplic succession. The empowered ones, they write. But they don't write something other than what their original preceptor writes. They're just expanding it and relishing it and looking at it from different angles, but it doesn't change the message. So that's what the Goswamis were doing. And just to organize it according to each of the sutras of Vedanta Sutra and its 4 divisions, Baladeva just stitched it together. Specifically addressing, the concerns of the Ramanadis. The whole thing is there, but specifically addressing those concerns. Is that okay?
I have
You
a
have
follow-up
something
question,
else?
Maharaj.
Okay.
So how to understand the correct proper establishment of Sampradaya without Prasthanatraya? So the Prasthanatraya requires a proper establishment of Sampradaya requires Prasthanatraya, commentaries on Prasthanatraya, Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. So how do we understand that proper establishment of Sampradaya?
I don't understand your question. Do you understand his question?
Maybe I'll say again.
Well, you'll just say it again, and I didn't get it. Say it so I can understand
So
it.
you're just asking that Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta Sutra and Upanishads are 3 primary literatures, granthas, which must be commented by the respective acharyas to establish their sampradaya.
Okay.
It seemed to be missing on our
Vedanta Sutra wasn't commented upon, so why not? Same answer. Same answer. Because in our disciplic line, Vyasadeva is in our disciplic line. Vyasadeva is in our disciplic line. And so it's already there. That was the reason that it wasn't done. But the reason that this was, the challenge was being made, wait a minute, who's Lord Chaitanya? He's not one of the four disciplic successions. He's number 5. You read this PDF. So there's an answer to that. He's not number 5. He's in the same. Okay, but then there's some teachings and some worship activities that appear to be different than the Madhva line. So so it's allowed. Shakhabed it's called. The essential teachings are essences, but then the details are also important, like the worship of Radha. That was the issue. And their thing was these Gaudiya Vaishnavas, pujaris, they shouldn't even be worshiping Govinda because they're not from a proper disciplic succession. They're the disciplic succession number 5, which doesn't exist. And it had to do with their reading of a particular verse from Padma Purana. Baladev gave them a different reading of that same verse from Padma Purana. Which they couldn't refute. It's just it's a different than their view, but it's, by Sanskrit grammar and by logic, because those are some fundamentals that. So, you're back to the question. Why, if there's these 3 fundamental ones, why is there no commentary on Vedanta Sutra? Because there was. You want to add something, Bilal?
Yeah, you very nicely explained, Maharaj. I just want to add, even Ramanujacharya did not do a commentary on Upanishads. So it was later, after several years, in this line, Ranga Ramanujacharya was a person who gave the commentary on Upanishads. I just want to add a point that it's not necessarily the respective Acharya is going to do it. Their lineage would have done work.
Okay. You have another one? Okay. Someone else have something they'd like to add? Okay. So that's it for the evening. Tomorrow's going to be very different. Very different. It's half English, half Chinese. But the topic is a nice topic. You know what the topic is? There's 10 offenses against the holy name, and the way that we're accustomed to hearing offense number 2 is the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, should not be considered to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. But there's another rendering of that verse, and you read this, you'll go through it tomorrow. But I'm trying to explain this to devotees in China that, I don't know how it's going to settle. But that's the topic. The second reading is, it's offensive to think that the name of Lord Shiva is in any ways different than the name of Lord Vishnu. Now, we're not used to hearing that in the Hare Krishna movement, but that is another reading. It's a legitimate reading of that verse from Padma Purana that speaks of the 10 offenses. And some people stand on a soapbox and shout to the sky about that's the right understanding. So how do we deal with it? That's the topic tomorrow. Stay tuned. In English and Chinese. How's your Chinese? Do they teach it in school yet? No. French and English and German, right? French, German, and what in Spanish? Really? Yeah, later. How about you? What's Spanish, English, Spanish, French, German? What did they teach in school? What?
We do learn Spanish and French like a few. Yeah, we do.
Okay.
A few words.
Okay. Okay. Do you take any of those languages in school?
Middle school.
What'd you take? Spanish. Practical. I learned more by distributing books to Spanish people than I did studying 5 years of French in high school. I can read a book in French, but I can't speak it. But I can speak Spanish. I think I could kind of get by. And anyway, Hare Krishna. So Chinese. But I my guess is they're going to start teaching Chinese in school too. I'm guessing. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki.